We're singing. We're singing. Dun, 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 dun. Time to talk. Beauty and the Bitch.
God's dead, baby, that's alright with me.
Hey, what's that song you're singing?
Girl, you do not know Miss Lana Del Rey.
Oh, yes. And you know what? Oh my God, that's so perfect for like literally what we're talking about today.
Oh my God, magic moments. This is Magic Mike's magic moment.
Yeah, that's actually what we're changing our podcast. It's just dick pics.
Well, based on you not knowing Gods and Monsters by Lana Del Rey, maybe we should change it to Beauty and the Basic Bitch.
Okay. This has been a long time coming. I feel saint.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Beauty and the Bitch. I'm Mick.
And I am Morgan, who does like Lana Del Rey, but maybe just doesn't recognize all music everywhere.
Well, and you know what? No tea, no shade. I'm sorry for attacking you. To be honest, I don't sing very well, so it was every note was probably 2 notes off. It sounded right to me.
That's what it was. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's all my fault. Mm-hmm. So the gay man's at fault, and the white straight woman ain't done nothing wrong.
I mean, it just, like, sounds right.
I mean, that sometimes happens. That's possible. So, today the reason Morgan was saying that song was apropos, and the reason...
So perfect.
We're like sorcerers, witches, and wizards right now, because we are talking about Preacher.
Preacher.
Mm-hmm.
Preach it, baby.
Ooh. Now, which Preacher are we talking about? Are we talking about the Preacher?
Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., right? That's what I prepared for.
Oh. Well, I'm excited to hear what you prepared, but I did something completely different. I thought we were talking about Preacher on AMC, as in Preacher, the comic book created by Garth Ennis.
No. Okay.
That's not. Okay.
Well, I'll just, let's see what I can wing.
Well, but you know what? It's always a good time to talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
May he rest in peace.
And we should also talk about all the other Black activists in the world who never get talked about because of him. I'm just saying, there were a lot of Black activists who weren't quite so peaceful, and I agree with them too. I'm just saying. Sometimes, girl, you get mad. I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race recently, and there's a girl on this season, on season 10, who's just so angry. She's so angry. But I get it. I think most minorities get it. Because it's like, yeah, sometimes you are just pissed off that this is the world you live in, and the people that are like you don't hold very much power.
Word.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's not the point of today. How are you, Morgie?
Oh my God, I'm like legitimately so stressed out, it's irrational. But I'm like taking it all in strides, and by that I mean I'm just crying intermittently and then just getting shit done, like in the in-between, you know what I mean?
Are you trying to like cry while you poop or something? Like 2 birds, 1 stone kind of deal?
You know, that does make more sense. I'm going to try to implement that method moving forward.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Good pro tip. Good pro tip.
I'm surprised you didn't think of that because you're so scheduled. You're such a good schedule.
You know, I'm a really fast pooper, though, so it just doesn't leave enough crying time for me.
So is, like, changing your tampon the thing that takes the longest of all your bathroom activities?
I use a menstrual cup.
Oh, you use the cup. Mm-hmm. That's really good for the environment. Good for you.
So it's actually not, I mean, it can be time-consuming depending on, like, the situation, but you don't have to, like, dump it that much. So it's really, you know, if you could hit it in the morning and when you get home from work, usually you just get to, like, live your best life in between there. The menstrual cup. That's what I'm plugging today.
I think you should.
It's very helpful. Yeah. And it's not one size fits all. So if you get one and you're like, that thing didn't really work for me, you probably just need a different one.
So if you have a heavy flow and a wide set vagina, you've got like a gallon menstrual cup.
Oh,
you've got
for sure.
Yeah, 3
and
or 4
I
quarts
do.
Minimum. Oh, I support you in that. Does that mean that you're more likely to get pregnant if you have a heavy flow?
No.
No, it doesn't mean anything like that.
It can mean a multitude of things, and that is just not one of them.
Oh, okay. Well, I have decided to become a gynecologist.
Shit! Late in the game!
Yeah, I've decided to switch everything up.
Doctor!
Also, I'm going to be straight. Also, I think it's going to be Handmaid's Tale. So that's the life that I'm going to live, I think. I mean, straight because I have to be only to survive. You understand? Yeah.
Well, honestly, we're going that direction anyways. You might as well do it.
Hey-oh! Burn the world!
Handmaid's Tale, great show, bringing us back around to Preacher, which is an adaptation that we are talking about at this very moment. Praise be.
So, praise his light. Well, in some ways, kind of a similar show. I mean, very different, but similar in that religion plays a very large part in both shows.
That's true.
That's a reach of a similarity, but it is a similarity.
I mean, bringing it full circle. It's similar and different in many ways that we will talk about. But before we jump into that, why don't we just talk about some facts and figures surrounding Preacher?
I would prefer only figures, no facts.
That's
or if
fair.
they're facts, alternative.
Because if we're going to do Handmaid's Tale, we really need to cut the facts.
Yes.
I agree. Okay.
Yes.
So I'll just read only the numbers on my paper and none of the words. 8.1, 1-89, 2-90, 13, 10, 3, 10, 75.
I feel like I really understand Preacher now.
I feel like we covered our bases, so right. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good day, bye.
Okay, so Preacher is originally a comic book series by...
Garth Ennis. I might be saying his last name wrong.
But you know,
E-N-N-I-S. It might be Ennis.
Garth.
Party
on. So Garth, what's his doodle, wrote this, and there were approximately 75 issues. It's concluded now, right? So they had like an end, which is different from other things that are kind of going on concurrently, like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is still being written by Robert Kirkman with apparently no definitive end in sight. I guess he has an ending imagined, but it's going to be a hot minute. So this is done, so they can wrap this up and tidy it up however they want to do and kind of repurpose it in their own way. So how they're doing right now as far as statistics go is on IMDb they get an 8.1 out of 10 rating. Pretty respectable.
Is that both of the current seasons?
It's combined. Okay. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, I have two separate scores. Season 1 got an 89% and had 10 episodes in it. Season 2 was a little longer, 13 episodes, and it got a 90% review, which is really good. And then Season 3, which is going to premiere soon on June 24th, I believe, is going to also have 10 episodes. So they're kind of returning back to that little shorter chunk, which is kind of where Handmaid's Tale and a lot of other shows are sort of at. Shorter, like less is more these days, apparently.
Though, I mean, the way that they're, I'm rewatching Star Trek Voyager right now. This connects, I promise. And so many of those are bottle episodes, which I don't mind a bottle episode because I grew up on bottle episodes via Star Trek and Seinfeld and etc. But I think that because all these shows today, Walking Dead, Handmaid's Tale, Preacher, etc., pretty much all of them, they're really long story arcs that go a season or more. So, a 10-episode season's like a 10-hour movie, It's like the length of Lord of the Rings trilogy,
Dude, but I get mad in, like, The Walking Dead when we spend a whole episode with, like, Father Gabriel. It's, like, literally my nightmare.
Bottle episodes in The Walking Dead are an especially polarizing and upsetting version of bottle episode. I think that one where we went to the lesbian girl who's a Scientologist, we went to that fish village.
That bitch went on a vacation for like 10 years, it felt like. Girl. It was upsetting.
Yeah, it was so upsetting that I looked her up after that episode, and that's when I realized she was a Scientologist.
That's right. So fuck her.
I'm afraid so. It's a prejudice of mine, but if I find out you're a Scientologist, I don't trust you, and I'm sorry, but you're part of a cult, and that's not my fault.
But speaking of that, I've got like a nice meeting that we can go visit afterwards. We're gonna have free food, a little test you can take. You love a good test.
Oh, is it like a MySpace quiz? I'm into that shit, girl. Do I get to hold something sort of phallic in each of my hands?
Yes, you do. You do. But we are gonna need you to write your bank account number down, just like real quick.
That's totally fine, actually. So this movie Preacher, or not movie, this TV show Preacher, Morgie, I know that it wasn't really your like cup of tea or slice of pie. Did you watch any of the little bits and bobs of it?
So when it first was like a thing, I saw, Because, like, a couple years ago at South by, they were doing, like, a lot of hype for season 1. So I got pretty excited. They even had the church upside down, like, on display in the middle of downtown, like, near Rainy Street.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea.
And I saw it, and it was really cool. And, like, it was, like, a little interactive thing. It was a free event.
That's awesome.
I know, yeah. So I got pumped. So I watched, like, the first 2 episodes, like, 2 years ago. And then it just, you know, a lot of networks do this thing where you get a couple episodes for free online and then you have to use your, like, cable provider to log in. So I just didn't have access to it. And now you can find seasons 1 and seasons 2 on Hulu, but that's in, like, the last couple of months.
I think so.
It's brand new since, like, April. Because they cut a deal with Hulu exclusively. So anyways, I have not had time to binge watch and catch up on it. So I was interested and intrigued, but I did find the pilot sort of overwhelming. Like, there was just so much going on. There was, like, a lot to accept, right? Because you start out and you're like, it's this normal world, but then very quickly it's not this normal world, but then, like, you kind of don't know where you stand in it. And honestly, I felt like an hour later I didn't know anything. So it was kind of overwhelming.
I think, you know what, that is very fair. I have to tell you, so when it first came out, I, like you, watched a couple of episodes. I think I watched a few more. However, I was able to do that. I don't know. But I watched maybe 4 or so episodes of season 1. And then I think it was concurrent with it coming out. So I think the next episode hadn't come out. And frankly, I just never went back to it. You know, I just kind of got behind. So when it came to Hulu, I started season 1 again because I was going to do a full rewatch. And to be honest, it was pretty boring both times. Because I rewatched, like, the first 3 episodes again. And it was...
Not a strong start?
No, I don't think so. Well, here, the real problem, I think, with the series is the pacing. And all of season 1 is literally, like, a couple of pages of the comic.
Oh, no.
I mean, they pull in information that in the comic comes in, you know, more throughout the story. So, like, there's information that happens, but the actual events, they really stretched out to the max, which, frankly, is the same thing AMC does with The Walking Dead.
And it is so frustrating because then you get things like a season where you spend, or, like, 2 seasons at, like, The Fucking Farm, or, like, a season and a half in The Walking Dead, when there's so much, like, stuff to cover that, like, they should try to cram more in. And I think The Walking Dead is really failing at that. They're losing a huge viewership base, but not as huge as you might imagine, which we will talk about later.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about that. I do think that's a big problem, is they're trying to stretch it out because more seasons equals more money, right?
Which is so annoying.
It is annoying. But you know what? We see you, AMC. They do this. This is something they do, you know? But so, as you said, Morgie, the TV show is based on a comic written by Garth, Ennis, and the artist for that comic is Steve Dillon. Obviously very important for a comic. They're really co-creators, you know. The original run was 1995 to 2000.
Oh, damn.
It's relatively recent. And Preacher is part of the gamut of comics that is Vertigo, which is... Vertigo is still DC, but it's like the adult imprint of DC. So it's more violent, more sexual,
like
more
Drake
graphic.
is still a cast member of Degrassi, but now he's an international rap superstar.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah, like Drake in the wheelchair is DC, Batman, Superman. Kind of bland, interesting, lovable, attractive.
Cute.
Very attractive. But then he grows up and he, you know, starts doing
Vertigo.
coke. No, I hope he doesn't do coke.
Then he makes friends with Nicki Minaj and the rest is history.
Exactly. Yes, just adult, right? So, something that I didn't realize. So, first of all, Vertigo was founded in 1993. So, I guess that was a long time ago, but for us, with our aged lives, it seems recent.
With Stan Lee's career at Marvel.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I realized when I was doing research for this that Vertigo is like my fucking favorite. I don't know how I never realized this.
You love them.
I really do love them. All my favorite comics, with the exception of The Walking Dead, which is not a Vertigo comic, I don't believe.
What about Sandman?
Sandman is.
Is Vertigo?
It started off DC, the first chunk of it, but then the second chunk, it was like the spine of Vertigo when it was founded in 93.
Oh shit, good for them.
Yeah, so I pulled together my top 5 Vertigo comics.
Girl.
Would this be an okay time for me to throw them in?
Lay it on us.
Internet life? Okay, so number 5 is Preacher, okay? It's the reason for the season. It's why we're here together today.
Preach it.
I read Preacher in like 2 days on spring break my junior year of college. And I was able to do that because the college I went to, Reed College in Portland, Oregon, they have the largest comic book library run by students in the world at the time, though it may have changed since then.
That is so crazy.
It's amazing.
I've often wondered, like, how you have read so many comics, because comics is a largely absent thing from my repertoire just because of accessibility.
Sure.
And like, you had this thing at your disposal, and that's so cool that you took advantage of it, because I bet a lot of people don't.
Very few did. I have to tell you, for at least I would say my sophomore and junior year, because freshman year I was too afraid. Or I wasn't afraid, but you know how it is.
You was drunk.
You were a freshman, yeah. You don't know the nooks and crannies yet. But sophomore and junior year, I stayed for every fall and spring break, and also any moment that I had that was free, where I wasn't like completely cracked out, I was in that comic book library reading. And it's a really amazing resource, but it's not open to the public. It's a student-run thing at Reed. So anyway, I read Preacher when I was in college, and I immediately was drawn to it because it is extremely graphic and extremely dark in the comic version. The TV show, frankly, is PG-13.
Oh, damn.
I mean, there's some violence, some gore, but like compared to the comic, it's nothing, right? Okay, so we're going to be talking a lot about that. Number 4, Vertigo Top 5s. Have you heard of the comic Y: The Last Man? Do you know that?
Why the Last Man?
Mm-hmm.
No. Is it like the last man on Earth?
He is. There's the simple premise is a huge plague strikes Earth and kills all the men except one. Well, really 2, because he has a monkey who's his little friend.
But you know there's a show called The Last Man. Wait, is it the same?
It's not it's not The Last Man that's on, I see it like on Hulu with, that guy from The Hangover. What's it? Zach Galifianakis or something?
No.
There is a show in the works that's Why the Last Man, or may even be showing right now, but I'm pretty sure it's under that title. Okay. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure. But that is coming. What are you talking about?
There's a show. I don't know what station it's on because I have seen it on Hulu. It's called Last Man on Earth, and it's got this guy from like SNL stuff. He was like MacGruber, whatever his name was.
Oh. That's what I'm thinking of, but I just confused
the girl from Fly the Conchords.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, he doesn't end up being the last man on Earth because he eventually finds people, but it's like some weird shit happens and he's alone.
You know, what's her ass, that amazing actress who was in Lady Bird and in Roseanne? That woman?
Yeah, Laurie Metcalf.
Yeah, she is in The Last Man on Earth, too.
Oh, is she?
She's not like...
January Jones.
Damn! There's a lot of people up in that show.
It's a pretty good cast.
Well, that show's not connected to the comic we're talking about. I really don't think it is, because I read the synopsis and it sounds different.
And it's like a comedy.
Yeah. And this one's kind of funny. Why the Last Man's kind of funny. But anyway, that's another fantastic comic
Why the Last Man.
By Vertigo. Mm-hmm. Nice. And very diverse, women-centric. I mean... The last man is the protagonist, but all he meets are women, so, in the entire world. So, you know. Number 3, Transmetropolitan. Have you heard of this comic?
I have not.
Queen. This was the first comic that I read sophomore year, because we had the collected version of Transmetropolitan. And let me fucking tell you, so frighteningly accurate of the world we're in today. Because...
Oh, no.
It's about a reporter who lives in the future, probably like 50, 75 years from now. And there is like a smiling, smarmy businessman who's the president, who's in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. Technology's like a huge thing. And the thing I remember the most from Transmetropolitan, besides what the protagonist looks like, which you can just look up, he's very odd looking, but... There are people who have decided that they're aliens or they're cats or and now they have the possibility to change themselves into all these different things, but they are fighting for their rights, kind of like transgender people are today, right? Saying the body I'm born in is not the body I'm supposed to be in. But I remember reading that and being like, oh, those poor people, no one believes them. And now people are believing them more so. But it's also ridiculous because they are like, I was born with a white skin body and I should be blue. And people are like, no, you deserve to die. It's a really interesting comic, though. Very, very appropriate for the era we're in right now. Transmetropolitan. He does a lot of drugs, too. And he has a 3-toed cat, I think. Anyway, number 2... We already mentioned it. It's the best of all time, Sandman, right? Started off as a DC imprint, but then moved to Vertigo so it could get, nastier, frankly. And it does. And it did. Okay? And then number 1 is the comic we were just talking about. I just bought it. The collected series online. It's called The Invisibles. And I've actually plugged it before, I think, on the podcast. But
it's a thick volume.
it is
a big tome.
Yes. I can't even get my hands around it.
Girl.
Ooh, I'd be like...
It's a book.
It is a book, but I swallow books.
Yeah, it's a hardback book. But like I support
I try hard.
you.
I try hard, and I'm just living my best life. The Invisibles is about a group of very odd magicians who band together, and the new Messiah, who band together to fight these evil aliens who have like infiltrated all of society and want to make us all into slaves.
Why is that not a thing? In TV or film?
I don't know. And I haven't seen any hints of anyone making it into something, but it would be perfect. And frankly, Lord Fanny, the transgender Brazilian, who is my favorite person probably ever of all time, looks just like RuPaul. So RuPaul should play that part.
Oh, damn.
But, I mean, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Anyway, so Vertigo, if you haven't explored it and you have a darker or more macabre sense of humor, you don't mind violence, you don't mind really controversial topics like a whole comic about God maybe being dead or at least being absent, which is what Preacher is about,
Girl.
Then you would like Vertigo comics and you should get into them.
I'm so intrigued. I really want to make it like a goal to like pick a comic book or like a series that's attainable. Like, I don't want to be crazy, like maybe like one a year to like pepper into my situation because they are pricey. They're not all available at the public library, but you can like query them in from other libraries. I think like interlibrary loan. I'll have to look into it.
I think based on my early 20s Austin life, I know like if you want to start reading, say, The Invisibles now, you need to have ordered it like 3 or 4 months ago.
Oh my God.
Because of the wait list. And that's if someone doesn't steal it.
That's crazy.
Which people do a lot. They steal the comics a lot. Yeah. It's a bummer, but if you can get your hands on them, they are so worth it. And they're not Spider-Man comics from the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, they're real literature. They're very beautiful. And they really touch on topics that other comics can't or won't because of the code of ethics, whatever it's called in comic books, and also just because of prevailing commercial pressures. You know, a lot of people would not buy a comic about God being absent and trying to find God. Like, they would find it morally repugnant, deeply blasphemous, and offensive. But it spoke to me, bitch. So, you know. Okay, so, Morgie, I know that you did a shit ton of research on AMC, which is, of course, the station that Preacher airs on. What kind of... I didn't do any AMC information, so I have no idea what's going on with that life. What you got?
So AMC is a network that has brought us such amazing things as Mad Men, Breaking Bad, and what we're currently experiencing in season 70 million of The Walking Dead. So they have obviously, they found their stride, I think, with Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad and Mad Men kind of set the bar for AMC because before that, they were kind of this like, you know, they would play like old movies and they would like invest in shows, but nothing was ever like the TV to watch or whatever, but they've really heightened since then. And so I feel like they try to do a lot of different shows that are niche or like special in some sort of ways, and it's been interesting, right? So let's just go through what their top 7 current shows are that are on their network based on ratings, okay?
I'm excited, yes.
Number 1, not shocking, The Walking Dead.
Okay. Well.
So that's what I would expect from AMC top shows. It's the one that comes to my mind first. Number 2, I was surprised. Fear of the Walking Dead.
What?
Because
really?
let me tell you, I seen this little spin-off show, the first 2 episodes, and it was bullshit. It was not good. And what I hear from people is it's still not good. So somehow it has managed to maintain second in ratings for AMC, which is not good for them.
I have to tell you, the fact that we were talking about AMC stretching things further and further and further to make more money off of advertising stuff. That is the best example. Like, it's a totally different group of people. And I heard they're going to bring in what's his face?
Morgan.
Morgan.
Yeah,
in maybe the current season or something.
Yeah.
But why does that even exist? Good Lord.
So number 3 is Better Call Saul. So this is a spinoff prequel to Breaking Bad. And I actually have to say, I love Better Call Saul. They're on like season 3 now, and it's so good. Like, I love it. It's on Netflix. You can watch the first couple seasons if you have Netflix subscription. It's really good. It's really short seasons, about 10 or 12 episodes per season. And I just love it. That guy that plays Saul, whose name escapes me at this like very second.
People are probably screaming it right now. Scream it right now.
I'm screaming it internally, but like in 5 minutes it'll come out of my mouth.
Sure.
Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, there it is.
Bob Odenkirk is a gem and is fantastic. Better Call Saul is so good, and it works on a totally different level that Fear the Walking Dead does not as a prequel. So I give that one a pass.
You know what? I've heard lots of people rave about Better Call Saul, and actually, just 2 days ago, my coworker Nikki, who's one of our biggest fans, shout out to Nikki. Hey, baby, we
You're
love
a
you.
bitch.
Yes, you are. You're a bitch or our bitch?
Both, you know, like we go through phases.
Oh no,
he's dying.
Oh, I could
her.
say it's allergies, but it's really just a smoker's cough. Nikki was talking about it at work, and she asked me if I watch those kind of shows, and I was like, no. But I know it's like good, but it's just not my jams.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know.
Yeah. So number 4 is some show called The Sun that I have never heard of.
No Sun.
Hey, was Sons of Anarchy an AMC show, or was that a different, like USA or something? It's done, whatever it is, but I just thought people like that show.
Yeah.
Number 5 is another show that I've never heard of called The Terror.
Girl, I don't know her either.
Do you remember when Aaron used to say I was on a terror and I would get so mad?
I love it. Oh, wait, was he saying terror? I always thought he was saying terror, like tear a piece of paper.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
No, he's like, she's on a terror.
She's on terror.
Like a terror.
A terror. I know, I used to laugh so hard.
On a tear like a piece of paper?
Yeah, it makes as much sense as terror.
No, it doesn't.
Well, because terror is not I've never heard anyone use it.
I think it's like a thing people say about like kids or something.
Oh, they're on a terror?
Yeah.
They're on a tear.
They're like, wah.
Well, anyway, it was funny, and I still use it incorrectly.
I'm going to tell him that you stupid. It's going to be great.
Well...
Number 6 is a show that I have heard of called The Badlands. Into the Badlands. I couldn't tell you what it's about, but I'm pretty sure I've accidentally seen like half of like the season, like series premiere or something, because like they attach it to a Walking Dead episode or something.
Oh,
and then I would be like, "What the fuck is this?"
You know, every time I finish an episode of what am I watching right now? I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now. Every time I finish an episode, they try to play me Astro Boy after.
Oh, I love when Netflix is like, because of your interest in Sex in the City, you might like, and then they tell you like some dumb shit that you definitely wouldn't like. And for a long time, it was Narcos. Yeah. They would always be like, because you like My Little Pony, you might like Narcos. I'm like, that's so unrelated, Netflix.
Yeah, right. Why are they trying to... They don't even try, really. They just say...
They're like, here's this thing we really need you to watch. We need the ratings.
Exactly. Sons of Anarchy was on FX.
Oh, yeah, FX. That's the thing. Okay, bringing us to our number 7 highest rated show on AMC.
Lucky.
Preacher.
Oh, poor Preacher.
Number 7. After 3 shows we've never heard of, some show they attached to The Walking Dead, and then like a bad spinoff, The Walking Dead, and Better Call Saul. That's crazy.
It's, you know, it's really interesting. It's really interesting to me that Preacher has been so critically acclaimed. You were talking about the really good Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, the critics love it.
The buzz about it. There's something about it that doesn't draw you in. Or at least it didn't draw me in. As a fan of the comic, I expected to fucking love it. Walking Dead levels, like early season Walking Dead levels of fandom. And it just didn't pull me in like that. And I don't know why. I really don't.
So it's interesting that it's on AMC as a network because they've had this really great critical and audience success with The Walking Dead, which, let's be real, we're on like tenuous strands right now. They really need to get their shit together. But obviously it's still the highest rated show on their network. So even with like crazy things like losing millions of viewers after mid-season finale or something, it's still their best show. So I feel like because they had this great success with that, it maybe seemed to them like a great opportunity to snag the same audience, which it apparently and very obviously has not.
It should be, though. It should be, because, you know, the basic breakdown of Preacher is Jesse Custer and his friends Tulip and Cassidy. Cassidy's a vampire, no big deal. Tulip's his badass ex-girlfriend, okay? Jesse Custer is the preacher of title. They go searching for God. They have a very violent search for God. And the reason they're searching for God is because Jesse Custer is possessed by this spirit called Genesis. Genesis is a disembodied soul without any real consciousness, as far as we can tell. But it was born when a demon and an angel fucked, which they weren't supposed to do. The minute it was born, God left heaven. Genesis flew to earth, popped through a few people, hilariously popped into an African church and blew up the preacher.
I remember that. Because I was in the premiere.
Maybe that wasn't supposed to be comedic, but I laughed really hard, which is maybe makes me a bad person. But anyway, so Genesis is inside Jesse Custer's body. It possesses him, and it gives him the voice of God. So when he speaks, when he tells you to do something, if you can hear him say it, you must do it. So he might say to you, tell me where the can of beans is. And even if you don't want to tell him where that can of beans is, you'll say it's in the cabinet. Or he'll say, go to hell. Suddenly you wake up in hell.
Oh,
right?
no.
It's a very it's a omnipotent power. So you can do anything with it.
Does he understand that it works that way?
That was pretty much season 1. And I think that was a big problem in season 1 is pretty much the majority of season 1 is almost like a prequel to the comics. Like, it starts at the same place, but what is just a few pages in the comics is a full season on AMC. Okay. Right? And throughout season 1, he's learning what his power is, where it came from. There are some angels that try to take the power out of him because obviously he's a danger. He has the power of God, right? And God's missing in heaven. So all these angels are like, what the fuck's happening? You know? And it's essentially those shenanigans that happened in season 1. But now that season 2 has started, which I just finished literally hours ago, he's gotten very comfortable with it. In fact, the very first episode of season 1, the very first scene, pretty much, is an amazing shootout that happens between some people. I've just realized I don't want to spoil it. Okay. I realized at the very last second that I didn't want to spoil it. But he makes great use of his, like, godlike voice. He makes, like, for example, a certain person mace his balls. And he makes 2 homophobic men hold hands. And, like, he can do anything he wants. Here's my question, though, because I'm selfish. Okay? I want to apply this to my own life.
Right.
If you had Jesse Custer's voice of God, and you could make people do anything for you for one day, what would you do?
Oh my God. So it's not like unlimited power, like you could be like, make me skinny forever.
You're not like a walking genie. As far as I know,
just like what you say a person physically has to do.
Yes, it's almost like you're the stone and you get dropped in, the ripples happen. You can't change the stone, but you can make change in the world around you.
So because I cannot basically do magic and make the things that would improve my life vastly happen immediately and forever, I can absolutely guarantee you that what I would do would be centered around money and quality of life, because I can achieve all those other things using my money in my free time. So maybe I would like make a person who was like really wealthy, like transfer like some insane amount of money to like some offshore bank account, like so they could never get it back. Wouldn't be like, oops, I didn't mean to do that thing. Like make them do it, but like forever you'll never get it back. And like try to figure out, I would immediately hire like a financial manager to help me make the right choices so I could keep my money, set myself up for, like, you know, I don't know what, like 70 years, however many years I think I have left. And, like, book a bunch of travel stuff, but, like, get it for free. I would purchase a really nice house in, like, 5 different cities around the world for free.
Because you just say,
at my behest, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I would just, like, set myself up to be, like, living that travel, bougie, rich girl life.
So if we were playing Fable, you would use your power to get all the gold pieces at the end of Fable and be rich. I'm not coming for you for that. I understand. That would be part of what I would do for sure.
I just, like... To me, it's the quickest way to live my best life. And then, you know, I do have, like, dreams and ambitions that I could work on actively that don't pay me money, like writing a book while I go in Paris and stay there for a while. You know what I mean? So for sure, that's what I would do. And I feel like it's a really selfish thing because, like, I don't know. Because it's not even like I could, like, cure world hunger. Like, I can't work miracles. All I can do is ask a person to do something.
Exactly.
So, like, I don't even know what's a better option than that. Maybe I'm too small-minded.
No, I don't think you... I'm not throwing shade at you at all.
No, I didn't say you were, but, like...
Sometimes my face looks... I have resting shade face.
You do?
People are always like...
You're constantly
they
judging.
either think I'm judging or high. And I'm like, I'm neither. I'm sober and I'm with you. Or I'm both. Yeah, it's just fair enough. Yeah, I'm a mystery even to me. I would... You know what I would do? I would walk into and peacefully rob quite a few banks. Wells Fargo banks, because I don't trust that bank
fuck
anymore.
those people.
Yeah, because they've done very bad things. And that's kind of... I don't really have very much more than what you have. I would do similar things, except my theme of the day would be punish people who have fucked us over.
Which
I would
have
have
approve
a theme.
of.
Yes, which is kind of like, girl, why do you have that right? Well, why do I have the voice of God? That's the question. If God done gave me his voice somehow... then I'm going to use it as I see fit for that one day. I see no reason not to. So I think one of the things I would do is walk my way into a very rich person's home. You know what I'll do is I'll fly to LA before the day happens, so I'm fully in LA for it. And I'll walk into rich people's homes, and I will make them spend their money for the rest of their lives the way I want them to spend it. But I'll also command them to forget I was here and to love me and to leave me all their money in the will, or to leave it to charity. You know what
charity.
I mean? And I would literally
definitely make shitty people give all their money to charity.
I would fucking walk through Beverly Hills, and I would be like, you will give all your money to the Rainforest Conservation. You'll forget I was here, but if you ever see or hear of me again, you'll love me and do everything you can to protect me. Moving on. And I would make my way through those neighborhoods.
Damn.
Yes. And you know who would be queen of the world? Me.
Yeah.
Because I would give some money to myself, too.
Yeah, obviously. Well,
girl.
You gotta support all the charities.
Girl, I'm a charity case. Fuck yes. So
I would also go to the U.S. government and command that they relieve all student loan debt.
That's a great addition. Yes. Who would we have to talk to? Well, we'd have to go all the way to the president. So you'd have to talk to the Orange Menace. Yeah. But it would be worth it, though. We would also
command him to never be able to speak again. You lost your voice forever.
Oh my God.
And you're going to step down from the presidency. You're going to write it down.
Okay, that
We're
would be
done
good.
Here.
But then Mike Pence is going to... See, I didn't touch on politics because I'm afraid.
You're right.
You're going to...
Okay, no, not me. The Donald. Okay, I don't want to get also muddled in politics, but I would relieve all student loan obligations.
I think that's great. That's fabulous. All you have to do is walk through the White House with a megaphone, and you have achieved everything.
Attention, people.
Right? Okay, so the problem with the TV show, in my mind, one of the many problems I know I've said already, like, I don't know why. There's a bunch of small problems. And I think one of the more glaring of the small problems is that in the comics, Jesse Custer, who has this voice of God, and who can essentially command anyone, including angels, by the way, to do anything, in the comics, he has actual religious conviction. He is a religious... He's a preacher. He's a good man, you know, with some flaws.
Yeah.
In the TV show...
He's just kind of a shit person.
Let's just say he's a morally ambiguous... Ambivalent? Yeah, a morally ambivalent or ambiguous greaseball is essentially what he is. Like, he's not sympathetic. Uh-huh. And the problem is, all of the characters are super morally ambiguous. So it's like... It's hard to root for anyone because they're all kind of bad people. Yeah. They're all kind of like characters from Girls in that way. You know, that TV show Girls.
Yeah, which I watched until the very end, and I understand all the criticisms about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody sucks.
Yeah.
They all suck.
They're not likable to me, you know? And I think similarly, they should be likable in Preacher. All three of the main characters should be very likable, even if they're anti-heroes, but they're not. So I think that's a big problem. I will tell you, too, Miss Tulip, played by Ruth Negga. Mm-hmm. Love Ruth Negga. Mm-hmm. I hope that's how you say her name.
I think so. She's so pretty.
She is, and she's a fabulous actress. Do you know anything else that she's been in? Are you, familiar with her?
I looked at, a list of stuff, but did not. I don't remember anything. Nothing stood out.
She played mean, tortured mutant, or Inhuman, on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Which I haven't seen, so that makes sense.
Yes, and she's a super... I didn't recognize her for the first, part of the first season that I watched. I didn't know it was her, because she looks mad different in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but she was really good in that. I think she is terribly miscast as Tulip. Terribly. And I think she was one of the first people they cast when they were pulling the show together.
Yeah. What do you think is wrong about her for that role?
I think she, as a person and as an actress, is right in every way. I think that she doesn't shine in this role, you know? And it's a role that you need to shine.
She makes a lot of weird, face stuff. And, just the couple episodes I saw, she has, so many mannerisms. Is that typical of her as an actress, or is that a character choice?
She is, what I've seen her in, she's a deep, she feels a lot as an actress. She's good at very tortured roles. And actually, you may have actually just hit the nail on the head, because Tulip, she's got tortured moments, but she's a badass character, you know? She's the kind, she's cool. She's effortlessly cool. And though I love her, I don't think Ruth Negga pulls it off. Yeah. She just doesn't. You know what? A good example, what's her face is Black Widow?
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson. That's not actually the best role. I think we've talked about this before. She doesn't have superpowers. She gets, a lot of misogynistic stuff gets thrown at her. But I think she shines in that role. There's just something about her in that role. You're like, God, you're a star in this. Mm-hmm. And I've seen Ruth Negga seem more like a star in other roles. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think she's miscast. Another big problem. Actually, I know I say a lot of things are a problem. This is my number one problem.
Okay. Lay it on us.
The comics, right, 95 to 2000, are the most 90 of 90s experiences, okay? I think they should have pulled that 90s aesthetic into the show. Yeah. And let it be a 90s show. Because it's got a lot of dark humor that I think is genuinely funny a lot of the time. But it looks too much like every other show that's out there. Even with, there's some stunning visual effects. The fight scenes in Preacher are amazing. And I don't like fight scenes, but they're like Kill Bill fight scenes. You know what I mean?
Stylized.
Yes. Great music, interesting choreography, weird ways to kill people. I'm into that because that's creative enough. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's just set in now. They make jokes about Trump in season 1. They made a joke about Dick Cheney in season 2, which I was like, that's a dated joke. I don't know why you do that.
Weird.
But yeah, he was supposed to be a demon escaped from hell or something ridiculous. But it's oh, by the way, in season 2, we do go to hell, and you get to meet a bunch of people in hell, including who's the number one person you expect to see in hell?
Oh, Satan?
Well, fair enough. But there's one other really famous evil man.
I'm going to go with Hitler for some reason.
Behind the scenes view, I just silently hell Hitlered 9 times.
He actually paused it and played the whole song from the producers, Springtime for Hitler.
Springtime for Hitler and Germany. I love that song. Sometimes I find myself singing that quietly in public.
Goose-stepping around.
Which is not a good song to sing in public. People don't know that's ironic.
They don't understand.
No, they don't get it. Yes, you meet Hitler, for example. I don't want to give you more spoilers, but if they had made it more 90s, more like, just nostalgic for 90s, they would have captured us. Yeah. And we're a very important market to capture. And frankly, even younger millennials, they love the 90s.
Oh, the 90s are in.
I saw a woman at the mall yesterday wearing a shirt that looks like those water cups from the 90s that's white with the cerulean and pink that goes... you know what I'm talking about?
Bubble shirts.
Is that what they're called?
Like, they get small and then you put them on and they fit?
No. What?
Bubble shirts.
What?
Bubble shirts are like these weird, like, fabric shirts that look like weird, like, geometric things.
Uh-huh.
And then when you take them off, they turn into, like, the size of, like, a doll shirt. They're called,
Shocking.
like, bubble shirts. But then it just, like, stretches. And you just, like, bloop, bloop, put yourself inside it.
So if you have a bubble shirt and an infinity scarf... No, I believe you. I believe you.
I just want you to see.
I feel like you're a superhero with those two things. Infinity scarf and bubble shirt.
Essentially.
You're fucking the Terminator from the future, girl. No, this was... You know, in the 90s, if you went to the food court, or if you were at a game and you got, like, a soda at a football game...
Look at this bitch.
That is fucking crazy.
Right? That's the same
You should take
shit.
that on your trip to Europe.
Well, that is effective packing mechanism.
Yes. That's crazy, y'all. Look up these fucking crazy-ass bubble shirts. This bitch is holding a doll's shirt, and she's wearing it. I don't believe it. This is magic.
It's
That's
crazy.
dark.
They're super dumb. And I saw a couple of them at the thrift store like a couple years ago, and I almost bought them because I was like, these are so dumb, I have to own them.
What's dumb about it? I'm impressed.
They're so fugly.
Well, they don't look the cutest. That's a problem. People wear ugly shit all day long, though, girl.
Not me, though. Don't you look
Changing
at
the
me.
topic. No, I'm just teasing. But if they had brought that 90s aesthetic, I think it would have pulled people in.
Oh, yeah.
But instead they said it in the like, ambiguous now. Why?
Which
That's
is
so lazy.
Which is what The Walking Dead does also. The ambiguous now.
That's true.
Like, you have no concept. There's no real markers.
Well, that's easier and cheaper. Then you don't have to worry about expensive props or, like, trying to do certain scenes or CGI to make things look, you know, like they did in the 90s. But I'm just saying, okay, they've done it with The Walking Dead. And they've run it into the ground, have they not?
They have, girl.
So, like, why not try something new, AMC? I'm surprised it got renewed for a third season, to be honest. And I am a fan, but I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 7th in the ratings. I'm kind of surprised, too.
Well, did you know... Oh, my God.
Oh, girl.
In the early 2000s, they were talking about making Preacher into a movie.
I did not know, but that is a logical choice for them. But it's one of those situations where it's like, how do you condense 75 issues into, like, one tiny storyline?
Well, it obviously failed, so boo-hoo. But they had pulled in Kevin Smith.
Oh, you know, he gets his hand in a bunch of almost projects.
He does. He's a hot commodity. And he's great for that 90s aesthetic. I think if Kevin Smith had done this, it would have been different. This is a Seth Rogen production. I agree. It would have been funnier.
Now, Kevin Smith has his hands in a ton of stuff. He's just one of those guys, and a lot of almost maybe things, including that failed Nicolas Cage Superman
Oh my God,
situation.
hilarious, yes.
But don't come for Seth Rogen. Don't blame him for this, because let me tell you a little ditty about Seth Rogen and his business partner. So he's got a little friend named Evan Goldberg. They've done a thing or two.
Well, what have they done? I don't believe it.
So they have helped launch Preacher, and they have done other work besides, like, producing on it. I think they've done some directing and writing.
I think Seth Rogen co-directs the first 2 episodes of each of the 2 extant seasons.
So they're pretty, like, hands all up in there. For other TV things that they have done, they are currently working on a show called Future Man, which I watch on Hulu.
Yeah.
That I actually like pretty well.
I didn't know Seth Rogen. That's what auto-played when I finished Preacher, actually.
Oh, shit. Well,
I should watch that, too?
It's a Rogen Goldberg vehicle. Yeah, we like it. It's ridiculous. Like, it's so ridiculous. But
I'm into that.
It's, like, pretty funny.
Okay,
yeah,
funny's good, girl. I need to laugh.
And they've done a ton of movies that you might have heard of, things that they've helped bring to the screen, such as...
Mary Poppins.
No, they haven't on this Emily Blunt reboot, is that what you're talking about? No, they haven't got their fingers in that.
Oh, too bad.
But they have done This Is the End, The Interview, featuring Kim Jong-un, North Korea, Knocked Up, also starring Seth Rogen, Superbad, also featuring Seth Rogen, I think, at one point. Actually, Superbad, I think, was the first thing they ever wrote together when they were teenagers.
These are all things they wrote?
Yeah, wrote, produced.
Oh, okay. Just had a
started
help to create.
Yeah.
Okay.
They write almost everything that they do, though.
Wow.
Almost everything. Pineapple Express.
Oh, which is good.
So good. Funny People. The Green Hornet. 50-50. Did you see that one about the cancer? It was Seth Rogen and who's that kid
from Third Rock?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes,
yeah,
I started that,
cancer.
but it didn't pull me in. But I'm gonna give it another shot.
The Watch, which was that tacky neighborhood watch movie that they shouldn't have made, but they did.
Didn't see it.
Neighbors and Neighbors 2.
Oh, I only watched that for Zac Efron because I love to see him shirtless. And in Neighbors 2, he's not only shirtless, he dances covered in oil.
He does. I saw that also. Sausage Party. The Disaster Artist. There's a comedy in theaters right now, I think, called It's just called Blockers, but it's like Cock Blockers. It's like a picture of a rooster. So those are just some of their successful movies that they have done. And all of that's been done in like, I don't know, like the last 10 years.
I've said some not very nice things about Seth Rogen and company on this podcast. Like, remember when we were talking about Aziz Ansari, and then we were talking about James Franco and his allegations?
Yeah,
and I was like,
a little rapey.
Yeah, and I was like, they all seem a little rapey. I would like to formally take that back in case they might ever want to offer me a job.
Yeah.
Because I do think the stuff that group of men, because they are all men.
Yeah.
The stuff that group of men puts out is pretty great.
Yeah, and Seth Rogen, also obviously Evan Goldberg, but Seth Rogen has been a prolific writer and a part of like the comedy scene that has shaped my life, like since he was on Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks!
So like he was, like a side character or whatever. Everybody to me was kind of a main character because they all kind of like did stuff, but he was one of those friends.
I would say if there's one person I would say is a side character,
it's him.
It's Seth Rogen.
Yeah. So, but he also had his hands in like writing and learning from Judd Apatow in that show, and so like, what a great fucking start, right? And to have like this friend that you partner up with, and honestly, it seems like he's been like a really humble person. Like I've like heard him in lots of interviews and seen him like doing press tours and stuff, and like he genuinely just seems like a good dude. Like honestly, he just seems like a nice person who just feels like so lucky that like a weird funny looking Jewish kid like made it. And he's been married for like 10 years to like some his wife is also a writer, a writer that he worked with, and like they fell in love, and like her mother has Alzheimer's, and so he has like dedicated so much of his time and money to like organizations that like do Alzheimer's research, and like he does it like just because it's like a part of her family and like has affected her life.
Lovely.
It's just like a nice thing that like obviously he doesn't have to do, but like he's a nice guy, I think. You know what I mean?
I am going to change my opinion about him based on I did not know
maybe that. Just Rogen. Franco's for sure rapey.
Yeah, but but I'm down. Yeah, well, I'd heard things that, like, he was rude to waiters and stuff like that. Not just him, but that whole posse.
And maybe he has been.
And maybe
Can't be perfect.
You know
all the
what?
time.
Well, look, here's the thing, girl. If I was rich and famous, and I was hanging out with my large group of friends who are also rich and famous, look, we felt rich and famous in high school when we got to go to McDonald's. What did we do at McDonald's? We threw French fries and ice until they kicked us out.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
So, like, sometimes you have privilege and you act a fool with it. That doesn't mean you're a horrible, evil person altogether. Maybe they have had a few shitty nights, but...
Side note, Doug Benson, who's like that comedian from Super High Meme. I listened to his podcast, Douglas Movies. It's pretty dope. I'm plugging it now. But he was in town for South by Southwest, and he got invited to this like super exclusive like Twix sponsored event, and he's talked about it several times on his podcast since then because he got kicked out of the event for throwing they like gave him all this like Twix swag, and he was like, yeah, Twix, we're having like a candy party, and they were like, sir, that's not acceptable, get out of here. And they like kicked him out of the Twix party for like throwing candy around like a child.
Do you know, there is a huge controversy. Austinites, listen up about this. About that Twix party that was on Rainey Street, right? It was like a house on Rainey Street. Okay, so there is a museum, a collective of artists really called the Museum of Human Achievement that's based here in Austin. I'm a big fan. I go to some of their events every once in a while. Because, I don't like people, but I make exceptions rarely. And they actually, the candy company that owns Twix and also a couple others, they contacted the Museum of Human Achievement, asked them to design these crazy rooms for South by Southwest. Then the artist did it. They sent in their designs. They worked together for like 6 months. they gave the Museum of Human Achievement a small amount of money, but then later, like, took it back, saying they didn't do the work for it. And then all of their designs, almost point for point, were at South by Southwest, but the collective of artists based in Austin here never got paid.
Oh no!
Is it the Mars Company? I don't know who owns all of them.
That's a company.
There were like 3 or 4 different like candy, like houses. Twix was one of them, but there was also I think like a Nerds one.
That's so weird.
Yeah, very weird choice. Also like that, but whatever. But my point is, these are local Austin artists who got fucked. It does suck. And if you want to know more, just search Museum of Human Achievement. Don't search that because I slurred all those words together. Museum of Human Achievement, Austin, and then maybe you search lawsuit and it'll come right up because they're suing Museum of Human Achievement. Suing them now. Fuck yes, they should. A corporation comes in, takes all your creative ideas, and then just makes money off of it.
That's fucked up.
Invites this man who has a podcast, and then kicks him out.
He is just for throwing
Twix bars. Who hasn't thrown a Twix bar in their life?
Not me.
I've thrown one.
Well, I just don't buy Twix.
You don't like Twixes?
They're alright.
I like the right side more than the left side.
I like ice cream.
Well. So, Morgie, I've got a little game for you. Are you ready? Are you girded for a game?
My loins are girded.
Yes. Okay, so it is called Two Angels and a Saint of Killers.
Okay.
Saint of Killers is the big villain in Preacher. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say he's like John Wayne, except invincible with even bigger guns.
Oh.
From hell.
Okay.
Okay. Great. So, I'm going to read you 3 fracks. No.
I love fracks, though.
Oh. I'm pulling a Morgan. That's what we call it.
No, nobody calls it that.
No, no one calls it that. Okay. I had too much whiskey. First, Dominic Cooper, who plays the preacher.
Is it Cooper or Hooper? I can't tell.
It's Cooper.
Okay.
Did I say Hooper?
No, you said Dominic Cooper.
Oh, I ran it together. But it's because it's the C in the C. Dominic Cooper. And Ruth Negga are a couple in real life.
Oh, damn.
Okay. Possibility. Dominic Cooper and Ruth Negga played King and Queen of Azeroth in the Warcraft movie.
Okay, maybe.
Could be true, could be false. So. Could be an angel, could be a Saint of Killers, you know? That's what I see every time I go out on a Grindr date. I can't talk. I'm so drunk.
It sounded like you said a Granger date.
A Granger.
Like when you go out with Hermione.
If that was a thing, girl, I would eat Hermione out just to hang out with her. And you know, that's a task for me. Just for me personally. You know, not for everyone. Straight men should eat women out. Can I just say, cunnilingus is a thing that should exist more often. You're welcome. This is allyship right here.
I appreciate
Eat that pussy!
Yeah.
Okay. Dominic Cooper, this is number 3.
Okay.
Dominic Cooper and Ruth Negga are both part of the Marvel Universe in some way.
Okay. I think that last one is not. No, I think that they're not dating in real life.
So
it's a demon.
So you that's dark-sided. That's dark-sided. You're actually right. Saint of Killers, it was that they're a couple. However, they were a couple for 8 years.
Oh my god!
They split up April 5th of this year.
Ooh, that's gonna make season 3 awkward.
Girl, I hope they can get through it because you know that happened on that Dexter show.
Oh.
The little mate Michael C. Hall and
he was dating his sister wife?
Maybe so, and they broke up and I heard I'm not a Dexter fan, I've never watched it, but I heard that it really affected the show.
Well, it would.
You would think so. Right?
I know from what's that vampire show that's like Sookie? You know one. No.
True Blood.
True Blood. So I know in real life the 2 main characters are married or whatever, like Sookie and whoever the guy is. That's such a dangerous thing to cast, right? Like couples. Like I don't even know why the preacher people would do that.
Well, I know that Ruth Negga was cast as Tulip very early on, and I actually read some goddamn where that she was reading the script, and then she got Dominic Cooper to read with her, for her auditions and stuff, and he was like, oh, damn. And then he went back and read the comic, and then he said, hey, Ruth baby, my girl.
Ruthie girl.
He was like, can I audition for this as well? I think I'd be good for this role. And then he auditioned, and I believe he was the last main person cast.
Do you like him in that role?
It's hard to say because I feel like the writing's off for him. So I think like I said earlier, I think he's kind of like greasy and unlikable in that role. But I really hesitate to blame him for that because, there's so much that goes into him seeming that way.
Right. What about their vampire friend? Do you think he's cast?
Oh, I think he's amazing.
He's perfect.
God damn it. I didn't write down his name. I'm so sorry. He's really famous for, what's that BBC show where these people all have superpowers? It's like Outcasts or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Don't you worry. I've got my IMDb page pulled up right here.
I do remember him from like the first couple episodes or whatever.
Misfits. It's called The Misfits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's very personable to like look at.
And he's really funny too.
Yeah.
He's definitely, it's a funny show in general. His name is Joseph Gilgun. Gilgun.
Gilgamesh.
Gilgun. No, not Gilgamesh, girl.
No.
Not to know. Gilgun. I don't know. But do you know who Dominic Cooper played in the Marvel universe?
I don't. Not even at all.
He played Howard Stark in Captain America.
Oh, shit.
And I think it was in another one, too. Maybe in a smaller bit role. But it's just a bit role. But he's also in there. So it's funny, both he and Ruth.
Wait, what was she?
She was Reyna in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, that's
was
right. You said that, yeah.
And she had, like bones sticking out of her face. There was something wrong with her. I can't remember exactly. That was a couple seasons back. But she was an anti-hero at best. Really, she was quite villainous. And she was very tortured and very sad.
Poor BB.
I wanted to save her, but then I was afeared of her.
Oh.
It's kind of like me with you.
Okay.
Just because you got bones sticking out. I'm just talking about your cheekbones.
Well.
They're so good.
Do you have any more preacher-relevant conversations to discuss?
We haven't mentioned Arseface at all.
Oh, yeah. What's with that?
So awesome. In the comics, he's mostly there, I think, for shock value and comic value. In the TV show, I don't want to ruin it, but he has a much more interesting storyline. They did him right in the TV show. He's essentially a boy who, his backstory varies, I think, a bit, depending on which one you're consuming, but that he has a mouth that looks like an asshole because he tried to blow his head off with a shotgun, and it failed. And though in the TV show, they make it more of an accident. I think in the comic, it's a failed suicide. I'm pretty sure. But he's a really interesting character, and you can't understand anything he says. No one can, and because his mouth looks like he blew his face off essentially. But he's an interesting, funny, and also sad, sweet character. Actually, much more so in the TV show, to my remembrance, than he was in the comic. He's very lovable in the TV show.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it.
Okay.
Normally I don't care about spoilers, but I guess because I just watched it, I feel like it's current.
Sure.
Which is not really fair because it came out months ago.
Well, season 3 is about to start, so people could be catching up.
That's true. I would say, you know what? Straight up, y'all can just start season 2.
Skip season 1?
I know it sounds crazy, and AMC's going to bomb my house. They're going to send a drone or something, but season 1 is slow. It's slow.
Girl, they didn't drone your ass for the shit we said about The Walking Dead. They ain't coming for you.
I've said all kinds of crazy shit up on here. Sometimes I wonder if someone gives me a crazy look at work, or I feel like someone doesn't greet me as warmly as they could. I think, oh,
they heard you say cunt too many times.
Or something. I mean, I say horrible things on this show, but I'm just being myself. Look,
Girl,
I'm a 30-year-old man.
That's what this is about.
It's too late to apologize.
And it's too late for me to have binge-watched 2 seasons of this show, even though it is readily available on Hulu at your disposal now.
Yeah. after life calms down a bit, you know, because you're going to Europe and you know, you're building a horse out of clay and then bringing it to life with your witch powers.
Which is very time consuming.
Yes. You're making that hut out of leaves. You have a lot on your plate. Yeah. But when things calm down a bit, is this something you feel like you could watch, or what do you think?
So here's the thing. I definitely could watch it, but now that I'm trying to, like... There's just so much TV out there and so much TV that I like and things that I keep up with that it's getting harder and harder to choose between my darlings. Like, which things do I want to be a part of? I haven't seen a single episode of season 2 of The Handmaid's Tale yet.
Oh.
I just haven't had time.
It's
and we're like 6 episodes deep or something.
5 or 6.
Yeah, that's like 6 hours of Handmaid's Tale to catch up.
And you know,
that's a heavy day.
Every hour in that story feels like 6 or 7. It's good, but it's painful.
Yeah, so it's getting harder and harder to make those choices. So right now in my life, no, I don't think I'm going to go back and watch this. I just don't think that I have the energy, and that it just ranks so low on the list of shows on AMC that apparently people watch, but also on my list of things I give a shit about.
Yeah. I don't judge you for that. I completely understand. This happened because I read the comic when I was younger, and because it's Vertigo, which I literally just realized I'm obsessed with, and because there's magic and religion in it, it's special to me.
For sure.
But honestly, I don't know that I would widely recommend it. I feel bad. Normally, at least one of us love something. Review. I love the comic. I widely recommend the comic. But the TV show, I mean, you know, if what we've said interests you and you have a dark sense of humor, it could be good. Yeah.
Does your face also look like an arse?
You know what, Morgan? That was the final straw. I'm leaving.
Well, you know what? I think that straws should just be, like, recyclable now because there's so many straws in the ocean and they're getting in the little noses of the turtles. And this is a PSA about straws. Straws are a very easy thing to just do away with when they come to you at your restaurant table and they ask you, would you like a straw? It's a simple question. It just gives a simple answer. No, thank you. And maybe while you're telling them no, thank you, let them know that we would appreciate if you quit serving straws. Straws are filling up our landfills, and they are going into our oceans, and they're going to the noses of turtles, and they're hurting our environment and the ecosystem, and it's a very delicate balance. And you guys might have known that the ecosystem that we live in is a very delicate balance, but you might not have known the straws played a role, and that's all I'm gonna say about straws. They're bad. So, just say no.
Maury, I'm sorry I missed all that. I had to go get a straw for my drink. What were you talking about?
Nothing.
Oh, okay, cool. Do you have anything else about Preacher we haven't covered?
No, not really. I feel like it's a interesting concept. Doesn't do that great on AMC. Maybe it could do better on a different network or in a different time or in a different format. But I'm intrigued about the comic, and I'm glad that you discovered your deeper love of the label.
I love it, and I love that it's like not the mainstream label. I didn't mean to be a hipster. I just am.
God.
Sorry, I just like things that aren't popular with like the mainstream.
Like straws.
I actually don't like straws.
Good. I meant all those rambling stuff.
Yes, and I agree with you. Yeah, I think straws are a waste of fucking time. I have no time for straws. Sometimes if I go to a restaurant and it's like a casual dining, like a Chili's type restaurant.
Yeah, you're not sure where the glass has been.
That's the only reason I would use a straw. Yeah, but in my day-to-day, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm grown. Grown people don't need straws. I just pour that hot coffee right into my mouth and scream.
Well, that's stupid. I love you. Well, I'm glad you could kind of inform us on Preacher today, and that we could kind of chat about the intricacies of that. Do you have anything else that you want to plug? Some things going on in the world, like?
You know what? Gosh, I'm watching so much right now. It is a great time right now to start rewatching Game of Thrones, by the way.
That's overwhelming, but I also really want to do that.
It is. You know what? It is overwhelming, but I'll tell you what. I started back at season 1.
Season 1?
Uh-huh. And it's flying by, and I'm having a grand old time, girl.
Danny's changed a lot, huh?
Girl, they've all changed. I fucking forgot how much I hated Sansa. Mm-hmm. I don't now. Rewatching her now, I'm like, you're gonna grow up and be awesome.
Yeah.
But
she was a real cunt there for like 4 seasons.
Yeah, so, yeah. Just horrible and hard to like. So I guess maybe I'll just plug, actually, kind of strangely, Game of Thrones, because after all, it's coming back when? Next year?
2019, baby.
2019? You know, you've got these 7 seasons. That's a lot of hours, girl.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hard to binge, really, because you've seen it already. So if you need to start rewatching Game of Thrones, now's the time to do it. Okay.
I'm going to add that to my to-be-done list eventually.
Right.
Speaking of things that I don't really have time for,
Bathing. No, wait. General oral hygiene. No, wait. Not giving me gifts, because you're going to give me a gift.
Okay, well, I don't have time for any of those things. But I've been reading The Way of Kings, which is the first book in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. It's so good, and I'm really into it, and it's already vastly confusing, and there's so many different elements, and it's immense, and I can't wait to spend the next, 20 years of my life, getting excited when new books come out, because there's only 3 books out right now. Way of Kings, whatever the second one is, and Oathbringer, right?
Oathbringer,
yeah.
Yes.
I forget the second one. So, he's got a plan to release a prolific amount of books in this series.
The second one's Words of Radiance.
Yeah. So he's gonna, this is his, essentially, Wheel of Time series, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a huge plan, and he's already a prolific writer. So I love the Mistborn trilogy, and I wanted to find another thing to kind of jump into, and this was the natural choice for me, and I'm feeling it.
You know what, Morgie? And, we've talked about this before briefly, but I have to tell you, it just gets better.
I'm so excited.
It's a really good fucking...
Everyone very long.
Should be reading this series. If you're a fan of epic fantasy, it is... the epic fantasy, along with, of course, The Name of the Wind. Mm-hmm. What's the name of that?
The Kingkiller Chronicles.
The Kingkiller Chronicles. But who the hell knows when that's coming out again?
Never. We ain't met no kings. We ain't killed none of them.
I'm gonna fuss at you, Patrick Rothfuss.
We have upcoming podcasts to talk more about these heightened feelings that we are having, but not today.
I'm staring so hard at my mic, it's gonna burst into flame.
Today we're celebrating Brandon Sanderson and his ability to just churn out fantastic books.
He's the author that we want, if not deserve. You know what I mean?
He's the author that's he did that. He released how many books this year? What the shit have I done with my life? You know what I mean?
He's literally written more books than I've taken shits in my life.
It's
insane.
It is, though. Okay.
We love him, though.
Yeah, so we'll have to talk about him in a future podcast.
Yes. Sure. Maybe we can do the Mistborn trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
Have you finished it?
I did. Well, okay, because there's waves. I only read the first 3, first trilogy. Yes. And then there's a second trilogy that happens 300 years in the future.
I don't got no time for that.
Girl, I didn't read that. But we can just talk about the first 3.
Yes. Upcoming. Get excited. Gird your loins.
Yep. So that's what's happening in our life. Be sure to follow us on social media to keep up with our nonsense. We are everywhere at B&Bcast, or search us out, Beauty and the Bitch. You can find me personally on Instagram at Morganized Mess, or my personal website, morganizedmess.com. Mickey, what's happening on our YouTube page?
Oh, so we have almost every single episode of the podcast. There's one missing, I'm not gonna lie.
I literally don't know what to do.
I don't know what happened, but and the thing is, I'm not even mad about it.
Maybe
I just don't want to lie.
If we say it in the universe enough times, maybe it'll just fix itself.
It'll just pop itself in. So we have almost every single episode of the podcast. We are also publishing every Tuesday and Thursday, hopefully before 10 a.m., but sometimes as late as 10 p.m. New episodes of Let's Queer Witcher 3, which stars Geralt of Rivia in his search for Ciri, the daughter of the king and emperor.
If he wants to talk to her, he'd just be like, Ciri, where you at, dog?
Girl, that works sometimes, but then Ciri speaks back to you, and you know what she says to you?
I don't.
She says, Mike, what can I do for you today? And you never trust another computer ever again.
Well,
that happened to me on the way home from work.
That's fair enough.
I said, first of all, Ciri, I wasn't talking to you. Second of all, that's not my fucking name. And then I broke my phone into pieces.
Well, and if anyone else wants to kickstart a cell phone for Mick, that's what we'll be doing on our next episode. Until then, babies.
Bye.
Goodbye.
God's dead, baby. That's all right with me.
Me too.
Beauty and the Bitch. Do you have a home? Beauty in the bitch.
You
You look.
bitch.
Bitch, bitch. Beauty in the bitch.
Beauty in the bitch.